Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, a warm welcome to the Tourism Students Festival 2020, organized by New Tourism Foundation, the first ever initiative at the national level to focus on education sector on tourism, bringing students in academia into an interface with the industry and the government, with the view to prepare for the challenges for the new normal. And on behalf of New Tourism Foundation, I extend a warm welcome to all our eminent panel members of this session. And ladies and gentlemen, the topic for this session is health safety, the new equalizer and driver of tourism in the new global order. The new normal calls for insights and tools for interaction and implementation to ensure that people are and feel safe. However, one cannot ensure 100% safety. It is paramount to have common rules. Ultimately, we envision a future of travel which is safe, secure, seamless, and provides an authentic and meaningful experience to the traveler across the journey. One which supports the livelihoods of millions and contributes to sustainable economic growth. And let's begin the proceedings by introducing our eminent panelists. We have on the panel with us today, Mr. Parveen Jitirwal, founder and CEO, has 20 years of rich experience in marketing, sales, and brand management, of which over 15 years is in travel and tourism industry. His foray into tourism began with Cox & Kings in the year 2002 till 2009, where he served as the head of marketing and advertising, leading the core planning and strategy team that developed marketing and communication plans for all Cox & Kings brands and divisions. Dunia Dekho, Bharat Dekho, Flexi Hall, luxury escapes, trade fairs, inbound, special projects and initiatives, franchisee, and easygo1.com. On the panel we have with us today, the chairperson and founder of Tirun, Mrs. Ratna Chadda. She has been at the helm of introducing various global travel products and pioneered the concept of cruise vacation in India. Over the past 2 decades, as an entrepreneur who is today an established industry veteran, Mrs. Chadda has harnessed her innate business growth abilities to change the way India vacations. She is the member of Cruise Tourism India Task Force, member of CII Committee, and president of India Cruise Lines Association, INCLA. On the panel, we have with us Sarah Matthews, who is the group head of Destination Marketing, APAC Trade Advisor. Mr. Sanjeev Nair, Director of Incredible Smart Hospitality LLP, New Delhi, summary former head ITC, Welcome Heritage Hotels. An accompanied hotel industry professional with over 35 years of diverse experience in projects, operations, business planning, and team management. A hotelier driven by passion, he has been instrumental in creating a best-in-class delivery module across the network of hotels, which promises to deliver a blend of contemporary luxury with cultural heritage. And ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished moderator for this session is Mr. Sandeep Dayal, who is a senior tourism industry professional from South Delhi, has been in the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry for around 30 years and worked in various capacities. Is passionate about promoting India tourism and culture, and in doing so has traveled extensively for over 50 countries, marketing the destination vigorously. Over the years, he's acquired a unique, in-depth understanding on the Indian tourism industry with a strong market perspective on the opportunities available, including how best it can serve to preserve and showcase the large scale of World Heritage sites in the country. Has worked tirelessly to build on these synergies and taken the lead to promote tourism through the medium of education exchange, art, culture, literature, music, heritage, sports, and weddings. And ladies and gentlemen, I hand over to our moderator, Mr. Sandeep Dayal, to carry forward the proceedings. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very interesting session that we have today for the new age that we are in. It's called Health Safety, the New Equalizer, and the Driver of Tourism in the Global Order. Actually, before we get into that subject itself, I think I take this great opportunity to introduce an even greater audience, a greater group of panelists and friends across who cover a variety of backgrounds, subjects, diverse, and also we have an international representation today. So very quickly, we for the young students and the audience that we have who are going to be the future generation of our industry, you're very fortunate today to have a practicing destination marketing expert who have an experienced and widely accomplished hotelier, hospitality expert. We have a brand communication and a disruptor who's changing and sort of path-breaking new vistas. We've got a lady who's introduced a completely new segment 25 years ago when we in India wouldn't even know how best to understand the segment called cruising holidays. And for many of you who are now directly engaged in classes and virtual learning, we have a professor also amongst us who's a leading academia in the hospitality world. So what we do is, the subject, while we say is health and safety, the new equalizer and driver of tourism in the global order. What I may ask is, if each of us, and especially yourselves actually, I'm the moderator, so allow me that liberty, will make a quick short introduction while we have a broader, larger introduction already being made by the organizers, by the master of ceremonies. A quick 1-minute introduction, presenting your profile, your background, and then what I will like to do for the sake of the audience is ask you a specific question really related to the situation that we are in, but more specific to your subject of expertise and your practice. And then we'll go back again to a next question, and then we leave the house a little open and we'll have a cross discussion. Would that be okay with everyone?
Perfect.
So let's start with the two wonderful ladies on our panel. On my right, we have our international, and my right to me, we have an international representative in Sarah Matthews. Sarah, thank you. Welcome on board from Hong Kong. It's quite late out there. I know not so late, but thank you for taking the time. Followed by Ratna, who's sitting right here with us in India. Yes, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I am indeed in Hong Kong and look forward to the days when borders open and I can be back in India, one of my favorite countries in the world. I am Group Head of Destination Marketing for Asia Pacific for TripAdvisor. Hopefully, many of the students will know of TripAdvisor and are using it even to plan dinners in your local hometown when you're not under lockdown. I think COVID has, as someone said, it's a year where the word unprecedented has been used so often that it's unprecedented. It's a challenging year, but I think, challenges are where opportunities are, and it's a great way for the younger generation to be innovative and drive what this new travel world will look like as we live through this pandemic. So thank you very much, and I look forward to discussing these topics with this esteemed panel.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, hi, I'm Ratna Chadha, and have been in the travel industry now for some 37 years in various capacities. I introduced along with my husband, my late husband, we introduced the concept of cruising 27 years back, way back in 1993, I think, at that stage where very, very few people understood, and actually very few people even now don't understand the nuances of taking a cruise vacation, because people are not aware of this concept or this category here in India, simply because as a country we have not propagated or not actually alluded to or done expounded on the vast network and the potential that we have to grow this segment. And we are doing whatever we can now with the government as our partners. They obviously have a big stake in this business, and we are trying to bring India on the tourism map. Hopefully, I hope it doesn't take the next 27 years doing that, but this pandemic has definitely not added to our objective. However, it's an opportunity, not an obituary, and I think we need to work towards it with partnerships to take this category forward, because as I keep saying, the world is filled 2/3 with water. So if you haven't cruised, then really what have you seen in
Very
the
nice,
world?
Ratna, very nice. So not to leave the three gentlemen behind,
Thank you.
who've got, I think, much to share. We have with us today Dr. Professor Arjun Singh, who's come a long way. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge behind him, but he's actually operating virtually, where you have an American professor operating virtually from India. So Arjun goes back to the Oberoi School of Hospitality Training. From there, he moved on to do his master's in Purdue and then a doctorate, and has been teaching at the last 2 decades at the university, Michigan State University, and recently moved to Texas, though not physically. Physically, he was there, but now virtually operating everything from Jaipur in India. I mean, things have changed, haven't they? I have Sanjeev Nair, our good friend. Sanjeev is very interesting. I mean, a background of hotel hospitality. He has been with the Welcome Group, with the ITDC, and actually combines culture with hospitality because he was leading the Welcome Heritage. And he will tell you more about it later. And then we have Praveen Jitirwal, who's, I mean, I have to say, very interesting because he's not from the industry, but he's from the industry. But I have to read out how he describes himself. And please allow me that little privilege. He says, he's a crazy guy who loves to disrupt. We believe in why. Why do you do what you're doing? Love building products and solutions, love marketing, and will always do so. So I think we've got a lot of things to hear from you, but more sort of enviously, I dare say that Praveen is speaking to us from actually where he doesn't need the backdrop, but he is in the backdrop. He's speaking to us today from Goa. What a lucky man. So Arjun, with a little introduction of yourself, and then Sanjeev and Praveen, before we move into the question answers.
Well, thank you, Sandeep and Mr. Soni, for inviting me to this panel discussion. Sandeep and I go way back to our boarding school days, and so he's kind of given you a little bit of a background about me, how I got started with the tourism industry in India in '78 with you.
I think you got your Wi-Fi is gone. Are you okay, Arjun? Hello.
No, we can't hear him. I think it's dropped out.
No.
He's
come back. He's come back. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, Arjun.
Were you able to hear that, or?
No. Yeah, you'll have to repeat.
Take two.
Okay. Now I'm unmuted. So how's that now?
Fine.
Is that good? Okay. Well, I was just saying that, yes, as Sandeep was saying, I started my career in India in '78. And at that time in India, there weren't very many hospitality programs. And so Mr. Oberoi had this vision of starting a school of hotel management. And so I was lucky to be selected for that. And so a lot of my former colleagues are now leading hoteliers in India and abroad. And then, of course, I had the opportunity to go to the US in '82. And we've been living there since then. And I really never thought I'd get into academics. I thought early on in my early 20s, I thought I wanted to be a general manager of a hotel and run a fancy hotel somewhere. But somewhere I realized there's a researcher in me, and I liked analysis and writing and things like that. And so after spending several years in the industry, I decided to give up my job. My daughter was only 2 years old at the time. So my wife and I gave up my teaching job in Daytona Beach, Florida, which has a sort of similar beach like Sandeep has, except that beach you can actually drive your car. anyway, we gave that up, went up to Michigan State, got my PhD there, and then rest is history. So I've really enjoyed the academic world. I was teaching at Michigan State for 25 years, and then an opportunity came up to start a new hospitality program at the University of Texas. So my wife and I gave up the brutal Michigan winters and moved down to balmy Texas. So we're in a place called the Rio Grande Valley, which is literally on the Mexican border. So we can go on a weekend across the border, have a tequila, have some tacos, and basically come back. So it's a very interesting part of Texas. But I took the opportunity for the Vande Bharat mission and decided, you know what, instead of sitting at home in Texas, I can have a virtual background and sit anywhere. And so came to Jaipur and reconnected with a lot of my friends, including Sandeep. And since then, it's been wonderful. I'm having a great time, catching up with my old friends. And so we plan to spend the whole semester here. So I'm teaching from here, running the program from here. So it's going to be interesting how things will shape up after COVID, because we're all getting into a new habit of working. And so I'm not sure. Maybe I might be here a little longer. But again, thank you so much for inviting me to the session. I look forward to a great conversation with everybody.
Sanjeev?
Hi.
Sanjeev is, of course, has also been a colleague from the industry. And interestingly, Arjun, for you to know, Sanjeev is now a director at the incredible smart hospitality, tourism, hospitality service consulting company. I love the two words, smart and incredible. You've got to be smart to be incredible, and you've got to be incredible to be smart.
Oh, thanks.
Indian tourism branding is also incredible in India, as you know. So, Sanjeev.
After you, Sandeep, I have to do a lot of catching and running around.
No, not at all. Not at all. Please.
Well, it's a great honor to be in part of this panel and discuss the health structure, the new health, or the new normal, what we call. I think you already given me my brief. About 36 years in the industry, worked with ITDC and with ITC lastly. I had a stint with ITC for about 16, 17 years. Just retired in June 2020. I was heading the brand called ITC Welcome Heritage, a bouquet of heritage properties pan India. And in July, a couple of our professional friends, we thought, this is the right time. There are a lot of challenges in the industry now. So why not to pool together and form a consulting company to give inputs to the standalone property owners? Because I think that's the only way of giving back to the society in one way or the other, giving back to the trade. And this is the right time, I think, when a lot of standalone property owners who have ventured into hospitality, not knowing edge of hospitality, will be requiring these kind of inputs. So that's the brief.
Very nice. And the disruptor, Raveen.
Sorry.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting, and thank you. I'm very honored to be part of this panel. Yes, what Sandeep said, that I'm actually not a travel person by so much of work qualification, but by heart. My dad's an Indian retired Navy, so he always wanted to join Navy and stuff like that, but I always wanted to disrupt. I did my graduation in mathematics, so everybody thought I'm going to become an engineer, and I chose advertising as a field. So first 5 years of my life was purely advertising, working for brands from McDonald's to Eureka Forbes to various such. And then I got an opportunity to work for Cox & King in 2001, where I wanted to shift to, and that's what the experience of travel. So I built brand like Cox & King, which was there. The entire campaign of 250-year countdowns and stuff like that were created by me. I launched a brand called EasyGo One for Cox & Kings. And after that, moved on to Keone SOTC, and then worked for VFS Global, heading the global marketing across close to 120 countries. And also build the new identity of VFS Global, what you see. Design comes by natural. 5 years back, I started my own company. We are now a branding marketing company. We build softwares, and as well as we do a bit of digital marketing. The disruptive part comes is that we build a software called Control Visa right now, which gonna change the way every travel company or a travel agent works and manages their visa. So everything what we touch and do, we need to disrupt. If we don't do it, we don't take it. We're the only crazy people who don't take client until unless they are very clear why they are doing what business they are doing. If their why is not clear, we don't touch them. And that's a small brief. And thank you so much for inviting.
Well, this is really interesting. And as you know, we are in a difficult time. But all of us must remain positive and look forward with new vistas, new vision, new thoughts, new engineering. I think each one of us has been on all kinds of external and group industry as well as outside industry engagement, whether it be through webinars, Zooms, and seminars, and everything done virtual. And I think there's been a lot of new learning. I don't think any of us have spent this kind of time clocked in and just listening and learning and imbibing. So, but what is it that's new? And what is it that the new students who are coming into the industry who've chosen this career in 2019, hoping that it's going to take them to new vistas, new opportunities, new horizons, and suddenly they hit this roadblock. What's going to happen? And what should we be telling them? Because do remember today that this foundation is actually looking at the audience of the young students, and several thousand of them across the country as well as across the region and across the globe. You know, your wisdom, your experience at this point of time, and most importantly, the responsibility of the maturity that you hold would be able to guide them. So coming to Sarah, you know, TripAdvisor, we spoke a little about it actually, and we all understand everywhere you pick up, this WTTC, ATA, ASTA, UFTA, ATA, safety. Safety is the big word, you know. Whether it all starts at home, you step out, it's about safety. Someone's coming home, it's about safety. So I know TripAdvisor, you know, leading player in the world in the tourism, hospitality, travel sector. So safety is the key requirement of today. So what should and what is TripAdvisor looking at to handle the situation as we see it?
As sort of when COVID first started, we started to look at consumer behavior. In an ongoing survey that we've been running, we've seen time and time again that consumers are very concerned about travel safety, knowing the relevant information to help them plan their travels. Particularly right now where international travel isn't there yet, there's a lot of domestic travel. We've seen in Australia, for example, in New Zealand, even cities like Hong Kong, we're seeing people do staycations. What they're looking for is the right information to ensure that their journey where they're going is safe and they have a sense of safety. In the surveys that we've run, what's been really interesting is that, you know, 65% of our respondents have said they will not travel until they see physical changes that make them feel safe. And we also saw that 74% said a checklist of safety measures on TripAdvisor would be extremely helpful. So what we then did was we actually launched our Travel Safe feature. And this provides a service for every hotel, restaurant experience. They go into their management center and there's a checklist, but also a long form area for them to kind of fill out what they're doing. And this is absolutely critical because what people want to know is if I go into a restaurant in Delhi, do I have to mask up the entire time? How often are the tables cleaned? Do they have a policy on staff who are ill? And again, the survey shows that that's what consumers are looking for. They're looking for that information. We can see that, for example, you know, people who are choosing destinations also want to see that the local governments are involved in, you know, hygiene practices, working with local businesses. I think when we think about it right now, there's no travel global consistency currently. We think about back to September 11th, you know, very quickly after September 11th happened, there was sort of a global change in the way we actually went through security at airports across the world, right? We sort of automatically understood we had to take our belts off, our shoes off, that the process was going to be longer. I think the difference with COVID is that it's here, it's ongoing. One doesn't know when will it end, but the criteria from travelers and actually ourselves is exactly the same. If you're going into a shopping center, you want to know that they're taking precautions. In Hong Kong, for example, we've been very lucky. We have had no lockdown since it started. We've been allowed to leave our homes anytime we want, but on the consensus that everyone wears a mask, and everyone does. We've been wearing masks from Chinese New Year at the end of January, all through the summer, which is incredibly hot. But also all of our restaurants now, all of our shops, if I want to go into a shop in Hong Kong, there's a machine that takes my temperature. It'll alert if my temperature is higher than normal. All the staff have masks on. I've seen restaurants, for example, put dividers in between smaller tables, again, to try and keep that social distancing. But what we want to make sure is that everyone knows that. So we launched the Travel Safe feature, and it's been really great, actually, because we've seen already since the launch of it, Asia Pacific businesses that have actually updated their management center, which is a free tool, has actually seen 3 times recovery. The other thing we've just launched is our contactless menu. When we think about it, we go into a restaurant, what's one of the things that we touch the most by many, many different people? The menu. So what this contactless menu does is that a restaurant can actually just upload their menu, provide the customers with a QR code, and actually they can look at the menu on their phone. And again, it minimizes that touching. There's a lot of things that the travel industry needs to think about, and that's the challenge. If you think about when we check into a hotel, invariably someone's going to ask you to sign something. How often is that pen cleaned? We also want to manage sustainability, so I don't want every pen thrown out. So it's little things like that that I think as an industry, we need to make sure that we're supporting each other with this kind of knowledge, whether you're a big hotel chain or whether you're an SMB. Now is the time to be really cohesive and really transparent so that people can feel that sense that travel is actually helping. And I will say this as well, is that what we've seen and proven without a doubt that what we've all known as people in the industry that travel is vital, it's been proven that everyone wants to travel more than anything right now. Everybody wants to go on holiday. And this pandemic has just proven that travel is what we need to stay mentally and physically healthy. So I think it's just critical to ensure that for our students out there, that have they seen changes in their curriculum to help them for the future of travel? What does that look like? I think I would leave that question with the students. You know, they're hopefully the innovators who are going to be changing the landscape. Thank you.
Excellent, Sarah. I mean, good to know the perspective from TripAdvisor as well as what's happening in Hong Kong. I would like to come to my friend Praveen, who in a way works
could
for
I
the
just
industry.
comment something on what Sarah said? It was
Sure, please.
Very interesting information she shared. But, you know, I've always felt TripAdvisor, and even now more so, is one of the primary influences of travel, because in the old days, you know, before we had TripAdvisor, you had to sort of listen to what the corporates were saying or the companies were saying. But this whole peer-to-peer movement, which, you know, TripAdvisor is part of, because people are more trusting of a real traveler who's actually really experienced a destination, a restaurant, or a hotel. And so I think for the operators out there in the audience, I think just the TripAdvisor site has become so much more important now, because, you know, as Sarah was saying, these programs, but really for them to actually deliver what they promise is even more important now, because these travelers are going to go and stay there and experience the reality, and then they'll post something and people will sort of, you know, believe that or not based on, I think, what you see. So I just think
Yeah, Arjun, I can just add as well that actually the travel safe feature is actually a filter for consumers. So if I'm going to Delhi and I'm looking for a hotel, I can actually filter which hotels already have that travel safe feature, or restaurants or experiences. So that's already there. And when we're reminding travelers to write a review, we're actually asking them to share a bit more about that safety element. Again, because it is so critical. So yes, thank you for that. A good reminder.
Praveen, I was coming to you, and the point is that you work with the travel industry, you have been with the travel industry, but today you're involved with branding, communication, design, which is really your specialization. You've taken brands to another level. I know presently you're working with a leading visa service facilitator or provider, may I say a global outsourcing leader. Uh, at one time, people would pride themselves, hey, listen, I have a huge footfall. I have 5,000 people coming to my center every day. That's not the need. That's not going to happen now. So how is it going to change? How are these large catchments of dense footfall centers going to change the way, how they're going to communicate to the customer, to the visitor, to their client? And what will make me feel safe, confident, and comfortable to just do a simple thing like do a biometric? I mean, and how does the company or the center or the outsourcing company present itself to this large audience, so-called traveling audience, you may call it, who's not traveling today but is still nervous from the point of starting off? You see, travel begins from the very first point, from when you apply for your visa. Travel, getting onto the aircraft, and the rest of it follow. So, how are you handling all this in terms of your design and your communication and your actual protocol processes?
Thank you, Sandeep. Very valid question. So I come from a simple school which says that what is the need of heavy footfall into any center? It's not a theater. It's not a movie theater where I need to sit in a big screen and watch things. If there is a need, I need to do a particular job. There are 5 different ways to do that job. Today, we all used to go to retail stores and we used to go and shop, and there was an experience which to come into there where we used to enjoy, because beyond shopping, we used to do a bit of sightseeing of different items. We'll have some meal there, a coffee there. So that was a wholesome family experience out. For doing a mandatory need, which is getting to a visa center or doing, there is no real need to do that. Today, Amazon, you buy everything online, and it's because the biggest retail store you will see across the globe. And it's very important that today, whatever things can be done online, or what Sarah also said, that today, I don't need to sign if I can do something digital. I don't need to look at a menu card if I can have a QR code with that. Same thing can be extended to any kind of travel category. Today, I can have a full itinerary for 7 days on time. I know which bus I can get into. The same thing with visa centers. I do need to only go to visa center only for getting my biometric, which is 5 minutes. Why do I need to go there and spend 45 minutes? The second thing is, why can't biometrics come to my house? I'm saying is, why are we not thinking and doing disruptively? The point of footfall, there are different organizations generate revenue. The revenue will still continue to do that. A footfall on online also generates equal amount of money, a footfall which we generate into a retail store. So, and that's what the disruption is. And I'll give you an example to just get a balance, that we created a product called Control Visa, which basically automates the entire visa process for travel agencies. Today, when you apply for a visa, you send an email, then you call up and says, sir, I've got my visas. What is the update? Where is my passport? It's a regular Indian culture, which happens, you keep chasing. We created a system 2 years back. Most people didn't understand why I've done it. And we said that today, someday you will need a system to automate it. Someday you will need a system where you can work from anywhere in the world. Someday you don't need to buy a main retail space and sit in Mumbai and Delhi and do visa processing, which is a back office. Banking has shifted it, airline has shifted it. Why does the visa industry keeps that? Today, because of COVID, we've just got multiple level of clients coming on board and wanting that system because they suddenly realize their office doesn't exist. So today, some people may not understand what you are doing right now because it may not be a need, but everybody has to start planning and disrupting it. So today, if we have to survive, and whether it's visa center or retail or travel companies, you have to look at a new way of doing businesses. It's very, very, very clear on this. And this is for the students out today, because I don't buy everything normally. People, my father didn't have a debit card for ages because he believes if you take a credit card, the machine will take his money off. Is that school? But today, an environment has faced him. He's learning and is very happy. And he feels very confident that this is more safe. It is more easier. It's more, in terms of hygiene level, is more there. So things will change. Every organization now need to actually disrupt their entire business model, because it's not anymore normal. So today, when you keep, we hear this very word very often called new normal, new normal. There is nothing. There is nothing called new normal. You know, this is life. Tomorrow, whether COVID comes or not, some new COVID will come. Things is that how do you manage and how do you adapt? Because like you, the consumer also is changing. It's not that only you are changing. You don't have to, you have to change as per consumer. Today, who thought Amazon, sorry, sir, who thought Amazon will, I'm saying it's going to become one of the biggest, and you're comfortably buying products from there. Yeah, please.
Praveen, you know, I come to now Sanjeev, and Sanjeev, in a way, with 35, 37 years of hotel experience, you would say he comes from another generation also, and seen the developing, you know, state and expanse of the hotel industry and the hospitality sector in the country. So many would describe that as, Sanjeev, if you don't mind my saying it, traditional, old school, old world. But, you know, you've just heard Praveen say, it's not about new normal. I would go a step forward to say, perhaps we may like to describe it till it gets the way it is, the next normal, you know, completely different altogether. So we come to the hospitality sector, which is a very critical and important sector. You know, we've discussed it at the large hotels, small hotels, staycations, vacations, bungalows, charming bungalows, homestays, all that is going on. But what would be the, you know, I don't want to use the word new normal because that doesn't seem to be the balance that could be considered.
The new benchmark.
The new benchmark, perhaps, adapted by the hospitality industry, particularly with respect to operational and staff preparedness, with respect to ensuring safe confidence. You know, we've seen what it is. You know, moving forward, how would you and Smart Incredible Hospitality Consulting advise your customers?
I think, first of all, you rightly said there's nothing called new normal. It's the new benchmark now. What has happened in the last 6-7 months has been unprecedented. Unprecedented. It has also given us, the lockdowns have also given each and every professional an opportunity to think, how do we take it forward? There used to be in the hospital industry a term called customer mapping. I'm sure, Sandeep, you are aware with that. How do you map a customer experience from pre-arrival to post-departure? I will go a step further now. That has come to the benchmarking. How does a customer go to Sara's website, checks the filter of safety measures at different hotels, and books his experience, books his travel? That's the change which has happened. Over the last 6-5 months, a lot of hotel companies, most of the hotel companies, I should say all the hotel companies have done a great communication, inviting, using the digital media, telling them that they have, you know, upgrade their safety measures. Safety and health were already part of the integral part of the service design of each and every branded hotels and also good hotels. But I think now with this health hazard, it has taken it to a new level. The staff training has been very, very critical. New opportunities have come in for trainers. New SOPs have been laid down by the government, by the WHO. A lot of hotels have combined all those things and put into their own service design, train their staff how to handle customer. How do you provide service in the terminology of Atithi Devo Bhava, yet be behind a mask. Ensure that the customer experience which he feels is maintained right from pre-arrival to post-departure. A lot of innovation has taken place, a lot of disruptions have taken place, QR menus, you know, social distancing, digital payments. These are all things which have been, I should say, were there. Digital payment was part of the initial hoteliering, but now I think it's become a must. Nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to take a risk of currency notes. So he's either prepaying it through NEFT or by credit card through Wi-Fi credit card system which you have today. So the entire process, right from arrival in the hotel till his departure, his safety has been paramount importance. I think that has taken a new benchmark, and that is what is happening now. Across all hotels, across all the entire world, that is where the focus is on.
Very nice. Thank you, Sanjeev. Now, Ratna, you've been in this cruise business for 27 years, notwithstanding the fact that she's an old hotelier and actually began her career, just like you, Arjun, as a management trainee with one of the leading hotel groups in India. So she's got a background, complete wholesome background of hospitality. I doubt 27 years ago, when they attempted to start what they call cruise holidays for Indians, they never realized that it'll become so fashionable and it'll be a sort of a wave surge that every Indian in some time, in one time, may like to go on a cruise holidays. So much so, Sarah, would you believe that they would send nearly 50,000 people every year on cruise holidays, including to your region. But Radha, I mean, coming back, I've been fascinated when you say that, I've sent one customer, and the other day I had a group of about 1,000 people, on my ship, which is weddings and special events and special celebrations. How's that all going to happen? I mean, what are going to be the health and safety norms, and with respect to the cruise liners, with respect to instigating? And I believe for me, and if I had to go on a cruise, the first thing, knowing the history of this whole development as we've seen it unfold, rebuilding trust and confidence would be critical. And you being on every panel, every committee in the cruise market in India and around, how would you articulate this? How would you present it? Which has been the discussions backdoor with the large cruise companies around the world who you represent? What's going on? I mean, what do we tell our young kids, and what is the future that holds for us as far as the cruising industry concerned? You're on mute.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again for this opportunity. As far as India is concerned, we still have a long way to go. You probably have heard the news very recently, in fact yesterday, that the only domestic cruise line that we had to stop their operations. They were scheduled to come back into flying by the 1st of November, and they've now had to push back because our country, we are not ready yet, based on the SOPs that each state has, the security and the health SOPs that the states have. They are not yet clear as to when they are going to open up. So there are boundaries within countries, but within our own country, we have boundaries within each state. So that's causing a little bit of a dichotomy. So the Indian the Indian cruise line, which was Jalesh, which is our own homegrown cruise line, had to abandon their operations, which was not a very nice thing to have happened. Anyway, since Royal Caribbean, coming back to Royal Caribbean, which is a very large company with 39 ships plying all over the world, we've had to take a stance where we are coming back into operations in a very categorized and calibrated manner, because again, each country has their own SOPs. So the first country that's going to start operating is probably Singapore, where we are going to start flying from the 1st of December. Hong Kong and China, I think, are also slated to open up by the end of this year, but will be bubbled up within their own country. So Singapore will not allow other passengers from the other parts of the world to fly in. It'll only be for the local Singaporeans. However, as you all know from the onset of this, when this happened, when COVID happened in March this year, the media blew the cruise lines completely out of proportion. The cruise lines were not the cause or the source of this pandemic, certainly not. But it just happened that it was, not managed very well on board, and therefore the country where the ship was docked, they didn't know how to handle the situation, so everything blew out of proportion. So what has happened is that the cruise industry, so to speak, has got a stigma now against their name to say that, oh, this is very dangerous and it's not very advisable to go on a cruise ship because it's contained spaces with a lot of people and all of that. So the cruise lines actually took this seriously and collaborated between themselves, and two of the largest cruise lines, which is Royal Caribbean, the Royal Caribbean Group now as it's called, and Norwegian Cruise Lines, collaborated and got together a panel of medical experts in the US, because the CDC in US had given instructions or had completely tabooed for the cruise lines from flying. For these last couple of months, this team got together and they've come up with new SOPs. So just to let you know what the safety angle is, to instigate that customer confidence that we are going to start following now in Singapore.
I'd rather use the word, Ratna, I'd rather use the word stimulate.
Well, stimulate, it's like Sarah and somebody said, everybody wants to travel. It's passive. At the moment, their desire is passive. So we've got to, for the cruise industry, we have to instigate it because of what has happened, because of what I just said. So it's not that easy. I mean, even if tomorrow the borders open up, I'm sure it will take a while for the Indians for us to travel out to another country to take a cruise or vacation. So whether it's stimulate or whether it's instigate, I'll just go through some of the SOPs that we have in place now, which was shared with us last week, because we are now on the anvil of starting to fly. So the first thing that they're going to do is, of course, testing for all. So that's the crew who are going to be quarantined, and the crew are essentially for Singapore, coming in from China, from Philippines, and from Indonesia. They are going to be quarantined for about 14 days. The passengers and the crew will be tested at various centers in Singapore, where they will have this before pre-departure and as well as on board. And I might add here that actually, if you keep the SOPs in place and have the new regime in place, the cruise vacation is probably the safest way to vacation, because once you're in there, you're not touching any destination, you're not flying to any new destination, you're on board. The cruise ship itself is your destination. So there are the touch points with outside vendors or outside tour operators or taxi drivers or ground transportation guys is completely negated. So once you're tested and you're on board, you're the safest out there. Yes, if anything happens on board, there is another SOP, and the medical the discipline kicks in, and everybody's you're taken care of. So it's not as if one person sneezes on a cruise ship, the whole ship has to come to a standstill. That's not going to happen, which is what happened when at the start of this pandemic. So the first thing is testing for everybody. The second is that the air filtration system has been changed completely. So fresh air will be brought in at least 12 to 13 times in a day, whether it's in your staterooms or whether it's in public areas, in the restaurants, in bars, all through the ship. There's going to be filtration, and this, I think the airlines are also following the same system, and is supposed to be the safest. They've got a HVAC system that's going to be instituted in the entire air conditioning system, which will cut down the transmissions of particles and any other antibodies that may flow in. The third SOP is the medical grade cleaning standards. The cleaning standards that we have established for our linen, for the touch points on the surfaces on the ship, for the restaurants, how you order your stuff, everything is going to be of medical grade, the highest quality. The heating system has been changed. I've just explained to you the air conditioning system has been changed. So all of this is going to come in place along with whatever else the hotels are doing, which we'll come to. So this is in over and above what the rest of the service providers are going to be following. And we are doing this because, as I said, a cruise ship, and especially large cruise ships like ours, have innumerable number of people. I'll come to that and how we are going to contain those numbers as well and maintain personal distancing. This word social distancing somehow gets me, because we are social animals. How can we keep away from each other? And what is travel? Travel is freedom to do what you want. You know, I mean, it's actually the new, well, it's not the new. Well, what's going to happen now is the regime that we are going to follow, and we have to be very sensitive to what the customer wants. Of course, he wants his health and safety, but again, keeping him away from that freedom also doesn't account well for a tourism service provider. To come to the next point, we are going to have less guests. Each ship is going to travel with only 50% occupancy. So that allows us to have lesser number of people. So there will not be weddings of 1,000 people, or a MICE movement, or a conference of 1,000, 2,000 people like we did in the past. It's going to be limited. This will allow us to cut down in our dining hall space, will lesser number of tables, lesser touch points, no buffets. Your public areas, your entertainment areas, the theater will have lesser number of people, which will also be time managed between and staggered so that people outside your family and your comfort zone will not be seated together. Then we've got upgraded medical facilities, of course, on board, because we understand and we are sensitive to the fact that if should anything happen to a passenger, immediate medical attention, isolation, care needs to be given till the ship can come back to base. We are not flying to any destinations. As I said, it's a cruise to nowhere, but the ship has the ability, because it's not far away from Singapore, it has the ability to come back should anyone need to be evacuated. The next point, of course, is that if anyone is impacted on board the ship, how they are isolated and taken off the ship and brought back home, which the cruise line will bear the expense of, up to a limit, which is, I believe, about $20,000. They will get back the people, these people off the ship, maybe take them to a medical center in Singapore and make sure that they are safely back home. And then on the next round, I'll tell you what Royal Caribbean is specially doing. So hopefully all of these things together will instigate or will create that customer confidence in coming back to cruise life sooner than later.
Thank you very much. But I think we should get back to Dr. Arjun Singh, the gentleman who's interacting with students. This whole program is revolved around students, vested for them and focused for them. Do remember our audience is young, aspiring, budding kids, professionals who would like to take forward their careers in this industry and would be the future for it. Dr. Singh, many years ago, I remember you pioneered the concept of bringing American hospitality students to Asia, particularly to India and to the region around Thailand and the other Orient areas. I think your concept was to expose them to not just Western hospitality practices, but Asian in the larger context, Indian particularly, and broadly, I would say Southeast Asian, which is typically known for its wonderful, warm hospitality practices. How possible would this be to jumpstart and take forward the opportunity of bringing in students from Ivy League universities, so what they call study abroad, overseas travel, dual semester across to, let's say, to India, in a manner of point of speaking? What would be the factors that would go into consideration? Like Indian kids are going all over to America to study. We have a large number of them. How are you going to bring American kids or European kids or Western kids to India? If not to study, but definitely to have practical experiences and opportunity. What could be the enabling policies for that? What would be the critical aspects in the training aspect, in the communication, which Praveen would support us with? So they're very important, actually, Arjun. Over the years, you brought so many students, and you might like to talk a little on that. Our kids would be encouraged.
And I'm dying to bring them back here, which is one of the reasons I'm here. I'm exploring that. But before I answer that question, let me just comment briefly on what Ratna just mentioned. It was very fascinating for me because, you know, when I think of the cruise industry, it's very fascinating. The standards that you all set literally encapsulate the whole tourism supply chain, because you've got transportation, you've got hotels, you've got food and beverage, you've got entertainment, you've got retail, you know, all the different segments of the travel chain are sort of encapsulated on this floating hotel. And so the standard that you folks, and I'm so happy to hear that you're reviving this kind of confidence in the traveler to be able to get back on a ship and travel distances. And so it's very, very nice to see that these standards are being set. And I hope that there's things in place where these are then communicated to the public, because, you know, it's great to have the standards, but, you know, how does the traveling public know that these are in place? So it's just something that came to mind as you were telling me about all the different things that are in place, and maybe we'll have an offline chat about that. But going back to Sandeep's question about international travel, you know, this is something very near and dear to my heart, particularly when I started living in the US. I realized that a lot of American students, you know, have not traveled abroad. I mean, many of them actually don't even have a passport. You know, I spent 25 years at a major institution in the Midwest at Michigan State. And most of these kids actually come from very small farming communities. And Canada for them is actually international travel. So for me to propose, which I did in 2001, a travel all the way across to India was, you know, one would think that it'd be hard to do, but we did manage to bring students here. The first thing I'd say is that, you know, the person traveling and the person planning the trip needs to be a champion of that destination. They need to have a confidence in that destination. And so one of the things I had to do is really not just convince the students, but also the parents of the students, because obviously they're sending kids, you know, young kids to a part that they themselves have not traveled to. Europe and, you know, places on the Western side are a lot more familiar. So in order to jumpstart in this program, you almost have to go back to a kind of a cocooning concept, you know, because if you remember the old days of travel in India, when you had more international travelers and less domestic travelers, all the hotels had to have specific, very planned out itineraries with, you know, a European plan or an MAP or an American plan, and there were no places for people to eat out. Everybody was sort of cocooned in the hotel. So to me, as I'm planning next year's program to India, I have to think very hard about each step of the journey and each partner that I partner with, which is why now the travel agent takes on even a more important role. In the, you know, in the old days, you know, I didn't rely that much. Of course, you know, Sandeep helped us a lot with that, but now, you know, just having confidence in that travel planner to make sure that each hotel follows safety standards, you know, the buses that we include for student travel, you know, those are safe and sanitized. We have to have a escort that goes with the students that is trained and understands all the COVID protocols. So besides the academic side, which I would like to focus on, now my travel partner has to be very, very well trained on all the COVID protocols. So I think, yeah, it's going to be a while before I think student travel will start, but I think the regions closer to India probably would be a lot easier than to bring US students back here. But, you know, if there's a faculty member that's from the home country, like I'm originally from India, and I can kind of convince students that, yes, small group travel with 10, 15, 20 students, you know, well planned, and a cocoon kind of a planned itinerary. And then once it's successful and students don't fall ill and they go back home safely, the next time around, it's a lot easier. But it is a risk. You are taking a chance when you bring that first group, and you really have to have a lot of confidence in yourself and the destination and your travel planner on the ground to kind of put that all together. And so we're looking to really do something next summer, and I'm going to be working with Sandeep and others on the ground to bring these kids back here, because they love it once they're here, and they become brand ambassadors when they go back. Because like TripAdvisors, the students basically are a peer-to-peer group, and other students will believe students who went there, and they'll kind of bring them back. So we're hoping for the best. Hope we can kind of get students to.
Thank you, Arjun. Coming to Sarah, you know, TripAdvisor works in multiple geographies. You are leading the path. You've done a lot of work on the ground, set up new protocols, new systems, new apps. And I know many years ago when we started off, at least in the hospitality industry, they would say, most important thing would be location, location, location. But today, what you think it is, it's the tip of our lips, you know, safety, safety, and safety. You know, how things have changed so fast. I guess it's going to impact consumer behavior. It's going to impact destination marketing. It's going to impact policy. And I think what I would like to ask you, it's very important because you guys have got a handle on markets, geographies, destinations in multiple areas. So what would be the signs of recovery as you should see on how people would want to travel? I know you've spoken a little on it, both in terms of what should a destination be doing. What would we have 5 Indians on this panel, and we have another large number of students, obviously the biggest bunch coming from our country. So what can we advise you from an external perspective, advise us as a country, if you would wish to travel to India today or the region, be it individually, be it personally, or be it from a TripAdvisor point of view?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've seen, and I think all of you can attest to, is that travel is very resilient. And even in just September, we saw that 64% of consumers said that they were thinking about travel and where they wanted to go next. And so we can see people are dreaming, they're planning. We've seen domestic travel really increase. We've seen we've seen domestic travel, particularly looking at what one can do on the weekends. Road trips have become very popular. So there's a few things that destinations should be doing. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's really crucial right now that sort of different government departments are working really closely together, because the entire ecosystem of travel doesn't just start from the dream of travel. It touches on so many different areas. From the moment I leave home, I'm on my journey already. So that entire experience needs to really have a rethink about what needs to be done. So when you think about when I land, what is the airport going to be like for me in Delhi? What's that experience going to be like? You know, when I go to my hotel, when I do my experiences, those are all going to be critical. That whole point about, you know, simple things, which I absolutely agree with Praveen, like visa needs to be one of the simplest processes in the world, particularly in this day and age, where thinking of queuing up for a visa is practically unheard of. So being able to access things with ease, making it easier for me to go from dreaming to actually planning to actually converting is also critical. What we've also seen is in our recent survey, travelers have said that destinations that they're looking at are the ones that have lower COVID numbers. And I think that's very true. We're wanting to go somewhere where the risk is managed, but also clarity. I think this is not one thing, whether it's just India or the whole world is consistently evolving. You know, just last week, 2 weeks ago in Hong Kong, on the 1st of October, any resident returning back from the UK had to quarantine in a hotel. So we do see that, you know, it's not one country. From a destination point of view, what we've seen in terms of research is that consumers want to hear from businesses, want to hear from destinations. They don't want to be sold to, that's the difference, but they want to hear good news stories. So if we think about some of the stories that we've seen, it's good news stories. What are people doing? You know, even if we think about, so, you know, across in Delhi, for example, is there a hotel group or is there an experience or even a university group supporting frontline workers? What does that look like? All of that, it's not just in travel, like we're all looking for good news stories. Don't want to focus on the numbers every day because the numbers are so big now that it's hard to sort of manage that individually. So destinations should be talking to travelers around the world. Businesses need to innovate so that they change from their original clientele to a new clientele. If you've only ever traditionally been focused on international, your current audience is perhaps on your doorstep. What do they want? You know, I was born and raised in Hong Kong, but in the last few months, because if you asked me where I lived pre-COVID, I would have said, I live on an airplane and travel around Asia Pacific nonstop. So since COVID, I've been homebound like everyone else. But what it's allowed me to do is discover places in Hong Kong that I'd not visited in something years, or it's new places. And we've seen outdoor activities like hiking, as I mentioned, road trips. All of that has really grown in the last few months during COVID. So I think this is an opportunity really for destination to think about how they're collaborating. We've seen that, you know, Singapore is working with their Ministry of Health. Like, what are the requirements that they're looking for when people arrive? We know that Thailand is also providing special visas for travelers. So I think really working collectively is critical, right? We need to have that public-private partnership more so than ever. And I think this is a perfect timing to work on something that would be a game changer for the travel industry. Because you're right, we are social beings. Ratna's right. We want to be close. We want to travel. We need to travel. But there is that balance of how do I feel confident in traveling? I think that's what we're looking at right now. So I would encourage everyone to sort of think about what can I do for my own business? Those students, Arjun, you've got, you know, they're the innovators. They're the ones that are going to change what their travel behavior is very different. You ask the older generation, are you a tourist? They don't mind that word. You ask the younger generation, they would say, no, I'm not a tourist. I'm a traveler. Even the vernacular's changed. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to really open this subject up. And it is worrying, but it is a great opportunity for us to think about what is that future. And when you think about India, and I say this everywhere I go, India is a myriad of experiences, tastes. It enlightens your senses wherever you are. It's the most wonderful landscape, as well as super romantic. And not to mention, I'm a girl from Hong Kong. So every time I come to India, I bring an extra empty suitcase for my shopping. So think about all of that. Those stories will never change. People will always want to travel because of that. It's getting that message out, which I think is critical.
Sarah, thank you for such a passionate, sentiment on India. And one very important point comes out from what Sarah has just said. And when we started in the field of marketing, as my friend Praveen would say, we talk of the 5 Ps. But coming out of all this from at least Sarah's conversation is 5 Cs actually, of which 3 are very apt and relevant and highly important for today's and tomorrow's world. And 2, we should completely sort of do away. And I would tell you that what comes to my mind immediately after listening to what you have to say. The 3 C's that I see is collaborate, cooperate, not compete, not conflict, just basically work together. So when we come to the point of hotel industry, I'm very scared of opening my phone in the morning, because by the time it sort of gets going, it's already clocked with hotel communication saying we're opening, this is what we're doing, and little clips and video sort of, presentations. And by half the day, it's over. So how are hotels managing this environment? And can there not be one single voice to standardize the communication? Some countries are looking at it in that way. I know they may be smaller in size. Because the last thing I want is that, hotels in Agra are doing it this way, or Trivandrum in the other way, or Goa, something else is happening. And, the Manali hotel is open. So I'm totally confused. I'm still not sure whether that's bringing me confidence. So, we've got to keep in mind the three: confident, collaboration, and cooperation, and communicating all this correctly. So what would you have to say?
Well, I think, yes, the communication is being bombardment. There has been bombardment of communication. I think that's what the digital marketing has brought to the forefront. Be it any medium, be it your Insta, be it your Twitter, be it your Facebook, be it LinkedIn, be it your WhatsApp. I think it's every day you get umpteen number of messages that this is happening, this is happening. Talking about single unit, single window of communication, I think the irony is that each and every state, like Ratna said, each and every state has got a different SOP. Most of the SOP is flowing out of the central guidelines advisory, which SOP which has been issued by the central government. But each state has tried to, fine tune it or add something additional to it for the, obviously the stakeholder will say that he's doing it for the betterment of the state, protecting the interests of the state. But it has, I think, also added a bit of confusion to the traveler. The current travel, what is happening is within the state only. I think most of the surveys which have happened, people are not still willing to travel by air. They are ready to go on their short distance haul, self-driven holidays. India is a vast country, incredible country. Each state has varied of destinations where you can travel. And when you travel to these destinations, living beside the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, the advantage is that lot of SOPs are natural there. For example, if you go to a heritage hotel, there is a social distancing norm is already there. The rooms are spread out. There are open corridors. There's no closed corridors, no carpets in the rooms. Rooms are open, high ceiling rooms. So a lot of traits are inbuilt in that. So you really don't have to work hard towards those traits. But yes, training of staff, how the paradigm of room amenities has changed. Right from fruit baskets and chocolates and fruits and bathroom amenities, everything has changed now. You find a sanitizer bottle, you find a mask there, no menus, no printed stuff, no marketing inside the room which used to be there, everything on QR code, contactless delivery. So a lot of changes have happened, and the hotels have, over the period of time, I think this lockdown period, they have evolved themselves. How they have been able to develop a service design which is able to deliver to the customer to ensure that he has a memorable experience, the customer experience, the delight which is able to maintain. I think that's what I want to say.
Sanjeev, very nice. I mean, it's important to understand all this together. We have a marketing specialist in this panel, and therefore I would like to ask Praveen, what can be the role of technology to manage health safety? As I open my laptop in the morning, I'm inundated with messages from all kinds of sites, groups, consortiums, consultancies, including the leading players, the big five, McKinsey, every day with something fantastic, very fascinating reading, things which one would never have read. And somebody like me coming from the tourism background, we think we know it all, but here's a completely new dimension. So what would you outlay and articulate as the role of technology towards managing health safety, particularly in the service sector and the travel, tourism, hospitality business of ours?
I think it's a very interesting question, and I think some parts have been covered. But before I start, I'm just going to give you an analogy so you understand. All of us, when we buy a mobile, we are very conscious. We hold it very carefully. We touch it. We open the button very carefully. But you give it to a 2-year-old, they open it, this thing, and they go to the apps. They're not scared of that at all. Why is that? And this is what's happening in COVID era right now for all our businesses. We ourselves are very scared. We are scared of health safety. We are scared of business opening. People are not. People have reached a level where they are just wanting to know that you are managing one and two things that are my tick marks. Like they are like a basic necessity which you are providing me. Most people are very trustworthy in communication. We do digital marketing for tourism board. We do digital marketing for a travel company. We do digital marketing for other set of product. People are not that scared at all. People are not. People are looking at to travel. It's just that the travel industry is themselves very scared. They're just very scared that, there is something crazy happening and we need to take care of it. If all of us just do those basic hygiene or the SOPs and then talk about it, that we are open to you, you will see that changing completely.
Sorry to add. I think you're very right. Because we have overhyped ourselves. The communication has gone overhyped.
I'm saying this today, in last 3 months, but because maybe Sarah would not know, but in India, there was just one actor story was going for 3.5, 4 months, and everybody started believing it. It may be possible. So when you repeat too many times, when some information you repeat 25 times in a day, every human gets conscious purely from a communication marketing perspective that may be true. So we keep talking about it. There is a COVID, and there is a scary, and the hotels are not. The people do get says, okay, maybe they are saying right, they trust you. Somewhere we have to just pull back and says, we are open for business. We are ready. We are taking all precautions. Talk about what are you bringing onto table. It was never about health and safety into a travel industry. It was always given that it always going to be health and safety. It was always must. Why is it become so much more critical today? And that's where my problem is with the communication, that today the businesses which are going to come out faster and better are the people who are going to say, how are we going to take care of you? How are we going to inspire you? How are we going to make sure that you have a good holiday or you have this thing? Instead of saying we are very safe and we have this and this, that should be there. That should be more visible. Let the people talk about it on that. Let that be a byproduct. We all put a line. We also, like a milk packet, it inspires you. Then he says also, this packet will also have milk. So in same way, it's very important that we all need to come out of it and say, it is normal, but that's why I keep saying new normal, new. And I like what Ratna said, that social distancing is also getting into me, because what is social distancing? We're a social animal. You can't take away that from us. Yes, personal distancing is more important. And maybe these are the terminology which we need to start using it very interestingly. We need to say that there is a safe and hygiene hotel, then saying that we have taken a medical kind of precaution. I don't want to go to a hospital. Every communication which I hear and people talking about, it feels like they're inviting me to a hospital. I don't want to go to a hospital. I want to go to a hotel. I want to go to a resort. And that's the point where I'm coming from. Coming to the other part, you start showcasing it in a very interesting manner. Like today, a lot of initiative which people need to do is a simple word I use called touchless. Work on a touchless. What I don't need to touch, don't let me touch. I don't need to touch a menu, don't let me touch a menu. I don't need to touch a door handle, don't let me touch. It may not happen tomorrow, but you slowly start working on it. You do that. And then we talked about that after 9/11, people got used to it, and they will. Everybody's upgrading. In India, when demonetization happened, everybody went online with payment and Paytms and all things. We are doing that right now. I am in a small place called Goa. Today, everybody of India is here. Today, a local guy who used to serve in a normal truck takes a card and this thing. And his total bill is not even $2. So the point which I'm trying to say is that today, and that's what communication is very important in marketing, that today talk about what are the things which you're going to make the person feel comfortable on a holiday, not that I'm visiting a hospital. Because you look at hospital communication, so that's the point. And work on touchless point. Don't make them do. I don't need to carry a printout. I don't need to check in with a pen and assign something. I have a code and I got to work on SMSs. And technology can seamlessly do to everybody's got smartwatches, smartphones. Use that to an advantage. Use that to build a system. Everything happens online. It's so easy. You in the morning, one lady takes your name for breakfast. Why? You give me a band, which is a electronic band. Anytime I'm walking in a hotel, wherever, it automatically gives me a green signal. Why do I need to? I'm just saying these are smaller things which people can use. And it's so easy to do it. It's happening in other industries. You go down to pharmaceutical, they don't check people every time. They all have bands, they have other elements. Today we go to big parties, they have same. We go to clubs, they give you a band, something. There are ways to innovate. And for the kids, which I want to talk about is that today, they are not going to be selling the same ideas for the people like us. They're going to be selling an idea and a solution for people like them, which are very different. They are very different buyers. They have a different set of needs. So that's where my thoughts are.
You know, the other day, there was a very nice motivational speaker, and all of us know him, at least all of us in India, although his reputation is far and wide and worldwide, in fact. And his logo is very simple. You can win. And I sort of read out, and I remember what he said. He said, winners don't do different things. They do things differently. And I think children, our youth and our youngsters who are getting into the industry will need to not to be winners. They'll have to do things and think things. For us, they would be differently. But for them, it would be very, very regular, normal. You know, going into the Oberoi School of Learning, Arjun, with their mask on, perhaps. Or the hotel managers, the travel industry, the airlines. You see how the airline cabin crew and frontline staff are all sort of protecting themselves and protecting the passengers and the guests. So the world has changed, of course it has. So I would like very much the last comment we're sort of getting through pretty much with our time. We're going to keep it exciting, accelerating, engaging. I think we've kept everyone quite actively informed. But as the last word from all these great experts around will be very useful, and I'm sure our tourism students will be very delighted. So can we start with Ratna, perhaps?
Yeah. So basically, what I wanted to say to tell these youngsters is that we come from a regime where travel was probably considered luxury. For you guys, it's a necessity. So the whole scenario has changed. And I think as travel professionals or travelers or, whichever field that you are going to go into, you need to be sensitive to this issue, because people are not going to stop traveling because of COVID or SARS or 9/11 or 26/11 or whatever the hell it is. These things have been there for a while. It's just that COVID came in with a bigger impact, and it was a pandemic which affected everybody. The previous things that happened were regionalized, so people didn't feel the impact to that extent, at least globally. Today it's COVID, hopefully, God forbid, tomorrow to be something else. So we have to live with this. And I'm a little, come from that school of thought that if for example, everything is going touchless, you've got to clean the surface, you've got to do this. I mean, we've lived with the flu all our lives. We never bothered about any the surface or anything. Why now? COVID is a virus. It's basically, it's communicated or it can be transmitted through human beings. And therefore, the mask and cleaning of hands is essential. It's very essential. Yes, that we are going to we've always kept our surfaces clean. I mean, whether it's a hotel or whether it's a cruise line or whether it's a restaurant, everybody's kept their surfaces clean. Now, maybe you've got to sanitize it a little more. It's, we are doing things which we've already been doing, but the important thing today, like Arjun was mentioning, is to communicate. So as service providers, we need to communicate to the customer that this is what you're going to get. We are here to take care of you better than you can do yourself. So, create that confidence, create that the reason, make it compulsive for them to be able to move out with that confidence that yes, their lives and the lives of their loved ones are not going to be endangered. Other than that, I don't think we need to hype up anything to that extent that it's not unsurmountable. Yes, we have a fear, and that's in our minds, and rightly so. Some of us are vulnerable. Some of us are, are in that age bracket where it doesn't really matter. But if you need to keep safe, follow the principles and the guidelines, and it's business as usual.
Thank you, Ratna. Thank you. Sarah, what TripAdvisor share with us in terms of knowledge and in final summary of guidance?
Well, what I would advise to students is to ensure that you're looking at things both globally and locally. One might see certain beliefs and insights that are relevant for your own market, but there are different behaviors and different requirements from a global audience. Information is critical at this time, that students are able to look at and consume the right information and be able to digest that and find relevant solutions to the audience. Yes, it has impacted the travel industry. Will it come back? Absolutely. Will it be the same? There'll be some similarities, but there'll also be new innovations, which is great. And we shouldn't fear innovation. I think that's critical. You know, touchless, these new innovations are just the natural next step. It's not going to change human to human direction and contact. The research we've seen is global research, which shows that travelers are concerned about safety. You know, there are different beliefs and different behaviors from around the world. And I think that's critical for students to be able to look at it, be able to look at and digest that information and find the solutions. They are the ones that are going to change how people travel. They'll be the new group of travelers. It'll be critical for them to share with us how they want things to change as well. I think that's going to be the next step. You know, the travel industry is very resilient. We've been hit by other stuff before, and we will come back, and we'll come back stronger than before. But where we can't be complacent is not taking this opportunity to evolve and change for the better. And so with that in mind, I would thank the panel and thank you, Sandeep. And I think it's just critical that we have the young people's share their knowledge as well. So whilst this is recorded, I'd love to hear from them as to what they're looking for and what is their hopes for the travel industry moving forward. Thank you.
There are very valuable tips, inputs, and I'm sure the students would be much inspired by what you have to share. Arjun, you are the professor. And, it's today, it reminds me of the song, We Are the World, Save the Planet. So you have students, you could think of you having students anywhere, everywhere in the world, be it America, be it Europe, be it Asia, be it Africa, be it whatever, all the 7 continents. I'm using the word very carefully, 7 continents. So what would you like to tell the students, because they're listening to you with much attention and interest?
So I think the first thing I tell them is that you all you students are in the right place right now. Stay in school as long as you can. Learn from what's happening outside. And I think, as everybody said on the panel, we go through these cycles. These are not new to our industry. This one certainly has been a tough one. But when you do graduate, you're going to come out in a much stronger industry. So learn as much as you can while you're in school, whether it's technology or the innovations. Observe what's going on, and I think you'll make yourselves better managers. When I started in the industry, with Oberoi's, I remember in the first class they asked us to define a hotel, and we didn't know, we all knew. And so at that time, the early definition, a hotel is a home away from home. And of course, the industry has changed a lot since, then, but it's interesting that we've sort of gone back to our roots. When you think about the industry now and we think about benchmarking, when I start traveling again, I'm really going to benchmark myself against what I'm doing at home and the precautions I'm taking at home. So, things are going to pick up, but they're going to be slower. The smaller boutiques, the homestays, the smaller footprints, those are the ones that I think people will have more confidence in, because for 6 months, a year, they're used to a certain habit of things that they're doing at home, the precautions they're taking at home. And so, yes, mass tourism will kind of pick up at some point. Large group travel will pick up. The Vegases of the world are not going to go away. But initially, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be smaller groups, homestays, new destinations, new dishes. I think somebody mentioned this is the time for opportunities. So I think it's exciting that there'll be newer markets that will emerge. But for all of you,
That's nice, Arjun. In fact, yesterday I was asking Arjun very interesting thing. He was sponsoring a polo game in Jaipur. And I was just wondering, and I was going to ask him, what's the new safety protocol playing polo? And how are the players maintaining social distance during the chakas? And
they're too
and
busy
and the social
galloping
events.
and
You know what polo is all about? It's mingle, jingle, huddle, get together and socialize. But how is it all happening? But interesting to know, how things are being handled on the ground level, as we call it. So thank you for that.
Quite a fascinating week, yeah. And we were about 80 of us on a large polo ground last night, maintained the distances after the game. But, we had masks on, but, we took some precautions. But people, I think somebody said on the panel, they're just dying to get out and doing some things. But open spaces do give them a certain sense of confidence. So that helped.
Yeah. Thank you, Arjun. Thank you. Sanjeev, as a practicing professional.
Sorry, I wanted to ask a question. Are animals also prone to COVID?
Not that I know of. I think those animals.
We don't know. We'll have to get the medical experts.
Should we mask them up? Because when I'm playing golf, there are a whole lot of peacocks and Neil guys and all of that all over the place.
We'll
Let
get that.
them smile at this time.
We'll have a separate session on that one for sure.
It's their time to smile at us
Sanjeev,
now. Yeah.
as a practicing professional, as someone who's worked on the ground, led hotels, led groups, been a leader in hospitality, what would be the final word of comment to the young hospitality students from across who are, venturing into our area of in business?
I think
See a new world, actually.
Yes, I think the current time is pause. It has been a big pause for quite some time, not expected. But anyway, the only thing is that we are hopefully towards the end of it. The work towards the vaccine is going on smoothly, and everybody is eagerly waiting for when the vaccine is going to out. So it's a pause button for the industry, pause button for the academy, a pause button for students, but obviously they should not get demoralized. I think the industry has to bounce back. I think it's a matter of time when it will happen. I will suggest that this is the additional time they have. They should upscale their skills. There's a lot of learning opportunities available today to students, which was not there 15, 20 years in our times. So it's not that they're sitting idle at home. They can explore the opportunities, do different courses, free courses, which will enhance their skills, so that when they are ready, when the industry is open, ready to take them, they are out there with a gusto and say, yes, here I am. This is what I have done. In 2020, let's say wipe out a year of the CV. But yes, in addition to that, I have acquired these many skills and knowledge. I think that's what is important.
Thank you, Sanjeev. And finally, coming to our marketing guru on the panel. I want to ask you, of course, at the final comment, you'll say what you have to. But, we all grew up reading Philip Kotler on marketing, the old traditional practices, marketing, branding, communication, sales, differentiation. How would you actually be addressing this to the new generation, to the next gen? Because they're going to come into a new world, a new platform, a new way. You talk of digital, that's an area of great expertise and knowledge for you. So this would be very important. And I'm sure, like Arjun, many other academia, intelligentsia would be listening quite closely to what you have to say.
For me, advice to every student or even the team which we hire at an intern level, the first thing we tell them is you don't need to be scared, because most people are very scared to ask questions. So you discuss and debate no matter what happens. You need to learn to bring that habit into you as a younger generation. As you need to read a lot more. They are not reading much. They are become an Instagram kind of generation where other than headline, not much. So I encourage them to read a lot, because that helps them to discuss and debate, because that's very important. Do not get scared that somebody's got 30-year experience and they know it all. No, they don't know. They know what happened 30 years. They don't know what's happening right now. So you don't need to get scared. So no matter what happens, you need to learn to discuss and debate with whatever your thought is. And beyond that, learn to collaborate. You use this word, learn to collaborate and create new opportunities. You need to think like an entrepreneur. You want to work in an organization, you still need to think like an entrepreneur, because if you're not going to think like an entrepreneur, you are not working for that business, because every business is an opportunity. And that's the two part which I simply talk about it. And for me, like how you have 3 P's and 3 C's, I've got 3 L's. You always need to listen. You listen, and then you learn, and then you lead from what you have learned from. So this is where I come from, that today, don't get scared. And the best way to do things and have a discussion or debate is ask a basic question to everybody who has got any kind of experience. Why do you do what you're doing? So you ask a question and say, sir, why are you a professor? What inspired you? Why are you on cruise? Why should I go on a cruise? Why is a very interesting question, and that will give every opportunity. So ask that why. The more the clearer your why is, better your product or your information will be. So with that, last word.
Praveen, thank you. For a long time, for the last 6 months, I've been asking, why did this COVID come? I don't know what's happening, but why did it happen? But it's happened. Having said that, I want to really thank each of you. By name, Ratna, Saurav, Arjun, and Sanjeev and Praveen, of course, the last speaker, for your time, for making it so exciting, engaging, exhilarating. I hope our students find it of benefit, of use. It's the new generation. I think, as someone said, Praveen, you said, and Sanjeev said, actually, give back to community, give back to society. I think the time has come for that, I think, for each of us. And more importantly, for Sarah, it's getting to 9 o'clock in Hong Kong. So I'm sure we don't want to delay you any further for supper. Thank you again.
And I'm highly thankful to all our eminent panelists for their insightful and thoughtful addresses, and also to the viewers of this session. I'm sure that the takeaways of the session will enthuse confidence among students and young professionals during the current testing times towards the new normal. We have a surprise for you all attendees. Scan the QR code on your screens with your mobile phones and answer 10 questions in 10 minutes. You will get to win prizes and surprise gifts. And I shall see you